So the light rig has cables that go from one light to every other light, and every light has an address. So we talk to every light like it's a big long chain. So the chain goes from here, in front of house, down the snake, and then works its way through all of the lights, right? We give every one its own proprietary number, and we talk to it like it's separate. So for every fixture, it has a set of attributes. The best way to think of it is like, okay, if it was instruments, right? You'd have a guitar and a bass and drums. And you could individually turn up the guitar or the bass or the drums, right? Within a light, we have the same thing. We have the intensity of the light, we have the color of the light, we have the strobe ability of the light, and we can change all of those attributes.
That's really part of the process, figuring out you got this much money, you want to make this cool thing happen, and these are supplies to make it happen.
There's basically 3 steps in the process. There's design and programming and then operating. And as things go, when you start and you're small, you do all of it. You know, you design the rig, you program it, you operate it. As shows get bigger and bigger and bigger, you start specializing people to do those things, you know. You'll have a designer, and the designer will design what it's going to look like, but not necessarily program the lights. And then he'll hand that off to a programmer who's a specialist at programming, and they'll do that. And then sometimes they'll hand it off to an operator to go on tour to actually physically press the buttons on tour. It used to be, before you could visualize stuff in 3D, the only way to say, you know, if you had $1 million rig and you want to do lights for NSYNC, you had to have that $1 million rig to show them what you could do with it. You know what I mean? And nobody knew, you know, but if you're a small LD, you can design big and learn stuff on a big level without having to have all of it in front of you, you know? So that's the big equalizer, is being able to sit home and learn on your own level and not have to have the $80,000 console to be able to figure out what you need to do. I did Red Rocks a couple weeks ago. It's at a really steep angle. You know what I mean? I don't want the same, you wouldn't want the same focus that you'd have in here where everybody's flat out in front of you as you would at Red Rocks where everybody's at a crazy angle, you know? So you build everything in there, and you can put yourself in various seats and look at the perspective.
And Andy's real smart, so he and an overachiever. So he's actually gone, and you have Red Rocks. He has a full Red Rocks based off like geographical site shit in a 3D model.
But there's 2 basic kinds of running the show. There's punting, and then there's like cue stacks or predefined decisions. So what punting means, you're playing it like an instrument. You're making your decisions as it's going on. You know, the band goes into something intense and you go red and start strobing. Predefined decisions or cue stacking or whatever you want to call it is, you know that your band is going to this song and you've already made a look. It looks good for this song, and when the song starts, I'm going to go and it's going to look like this, rather than making those decisions at every point.
Destroid is 100% time coded. Like, me and my buddy Kyle Keegan sat in a hotel room and for about 20 hours a day for 7 days, sleeping in shifts, wrote the show. It was averaging 2 hours for every 60 seconds of music. There's over 1,600 cues in a 60-minute set, which is fucking mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And it 100% runs itself. Like, literally, once the band starts playing, like, they better play their shit right, because it's not stopping. The suits are wireless DMX, because originally they were only having a tether for their MIDI lines for the keytar things that they were playing. So we got these super fucking nice wireless DMX routers and stuff like that. But they now have these tethers to do power because the battery packs are heavy, and the suits already have cooling things. I mean, the suits are the most amazing thing.
The suits have cooling?
Oh, they plug into a cooling tank.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, these
better.
That's awesome.
These things are about, if each suit is about a Lamborghini.
Really?
You know, they're all 100% like individual pixels. I mean, just writing the cues for the suits alone took 4 days of sitting there all day and being like, cool, this is this neat 3-second little fade out. Let's make it do this thing.
So how does your time code start?
The band basically is running their whole show off a master playback thing, but anybody know about Ableton, how all that kind of stuff works? So it's basically like the master time clock is going along, and whether the sample is triggered or not by their guitar, or whether or not the drum sample is triggered by KJ playing, that's up in the air. They may not hit that right, but those scenes and cells are going to be available based off where they're at in their time thing. So as long as they're hitting the buttons at the right time and everything, and they probably won't, which makes it cool because at least then you know that they're doing something, you know what I mean? But as long as they do that, it keeps going. And the whole show, lighting wise, they basically have to catch up. If they get off, they have to make up for it.
Bassnectar, you know, first of all, you got to think he's a DJ, so he has a right side of his turntables and left side of his turntables, right? So the way DJing works, and if you don't know, is that if he's playing on this side, right, he's cueing the next song over here. So the way it starts is when he plays a song, I get a note that tells my show to start, right? But if he's over here and he's playing on this side and he hits this note, I don't want this to start. He's not over here yet, you know what I mean? So I have to kind of pick and choose when I want to take his information and when I don't want to take his information. He has to be exactly at the tempo I need him to be at. So if I time coded this song at 90 BPM and he's at 90.1 BPM, it'll start off fine and over time it'll slowly slip, you know? So what I do is, like, if there's songs that I know are going to be the same, you know, some of the big hits that don't have transitions or anything, they're straight time coded from beginning to end. But if it's a song where I don't want to stifle his ability to change things by making him do something, you know what I mean? So if it's a song where I know he's going to transition out of something at 88 BPM and go to 120, I will build in something that goes from 88 to 120 and let him get there on his own, you know what I mean? So I don't have to force him into saying, you have to be here for this song, you know? And then at other points, I'm just, especially if he pulls stuff out of nowhere that, you know, he hasn't played in 3 years, I just punt over the top of it. And at any time when things get screwed up, I can bail on it, which he can't. I have macros built up that will basically stop the time codes and let him sit there a minute and then start him again, or just stop him and let him slowly close down and let me go back to punting and cover it but nobody can tell, you know? And that happens especially with Bassnectar. He fakes me out all the time, you know? Go over and do something for a while, and I'll be like, cool, it's a song. Bam, back to the other side. Fuck, turn it off. Go to the other side. You know, bam, to the other side. So I have to be able to, like, constantly be able to bail on the time codes and go back to doing what I was doing before, you know? It's a game of knowing the emotions of the audience, too, you know what I mean? And being in the crowd. It's really hard to be an LD if you don't go to concerts and know what it's like to be in the audience and have that experience.
And that's your job, is you're kind of a barometer for the energy in the whole room, and ultimately you want to match it. You know, you're not forcing your idea on somebody, you know, the artist or anything like that. It's got to be a dialogue. But DJs, they don't talk back to you. A guitar player, you go blue, they're going to be like, oh yeah, stick. I'm going to do that. But a DJ's going to be like, sweet, glad he got that cue. Next, you know? So you really have to figure out a way to make that experience organic. You gotta learn phrasing. I grew up doing music, you know? I was in chorus and band and took piano lessons. I mean, my high school choir, we went and sang for the Pope and shit. You gotta, like,
sing for the Pope?
Yeah.
I'm learning all sorts of new shit about school.
St. Peter's Basilica Papal Mass. We recorded an album.
That's
Our
awesome.
high school choir was killing it, bro.
It's great.
But, I mean, this essential understanding of, like, the energy of every kind of music, metal, you know, jam bands, all this other kind of stuff. It's all about energy, and everything that's good in any of those genres, you'll find really huge commonalities with. And it's all about phrasing. It's about the space in between notes, you know? All those same concepts apply to lights. Lights are a very, very powerful musical instrument.
Yeah.